iExplore.
Hey guys, Lucas from iExplore here. Tonight we're on one of my favorite rooftops in the whole city in the middle of Ginza, and a lot of cool views from this building. I brought a 14 to 24 millimeter lens for tonight so we can get some nice cityscape shots, and I'm going to be shooting with my Z6 on a tripod. So I'll be talking about the settings and my pointers about composition and things like that for a couple of different views from this location. I'm going to talk about two things from here. And that's one is, of course, settings, and the other one is composition. I'm going to try to shoot this really wide on 14 millimeter. Now I'm going to shoot this fully on manual, because when I'm on the tripod I pretty much always use manual. I'm going to do f8 and a 100 ISO. Okay, and then the shutter speed, whatever I need. So that's how I control my exposure when shooting on a tripod like this. I just go for whatever many seconds it comes out to. In this case, let's start with 8. 8 looks pretty good. In terms of focus, I think autofocus is fine. Sometimes I use manual focus in this case, using the back screen. Now, and then one last thing, I'm going to turn on the timer, the 2-second delay, just to avoid any camera shake from my hands touching the camera. Now, I'm very used to using the back screen. Even when I had my D4, my SLRs, I would often use the live view to do these kind of shots, just because it's easier. You see the tripod's in a weird position. It's really hard to do this. It's much easier just to use the screen. And so with a mirrorless like the Z6, that's totally natural to do it that way, of course. All right, I mean, that looks fantastic. I'm impressed with the dynamic range. This does not need to be an HDR shot. It's one exposure is enough. I am going to try and do a vertical shot. I'm going to do a nice straight one with everything level and straight, okay? You know, kind of a standard shot. But then I'm also going to do some angles. And that's the thing, when you want to make a frame like this, you know, straight, you got to really make sure that it is straight, right? But once you start having fun with angles, you have a little more freedom, and you can move it around. You don't have to be so perfect and precise, because actually you don't want precision, you want angles and whatnot. Okay? It creates better leading lines. All right, great, there we go, that looks really good. Perfect, tack sharp. And now we're going to introduce some angles. There we go. That looks great. Really awesome. Okay, focus again. That as well. Here I'm on AFC still, but for a shot like this, I'll probably switch to AFS. It's better. Okay, shoot. Okay, there we go. And unfortunately, I didn't bring my strap today, so I'm a little bit paranoid about the camera, so I'm keeping my hand there, even though I'm sure it's going to be fine. Okay, beautiful. So one of the things I like to shoot when I'm doing rooftop shots like this is the kind of straight down shot. So I'm not trying to get all this scenery, I'm just trying to get what's directly below me. And in that case, I kind of lean it against the railings like this, or whatever I have available for me to shoot straight down. And it gives you this very nice sense of vertigo. It pulls you right in. Oh yeah, that's great. Very cool. Beautiful. Very cyberpunk and dystopian. Now from there, I'll just vary my positioning, like I did one that's, you know, perpendicular to the building. I'll do one in that direction, one in that direction, to get some variety. Again, the beauty of back button focus or manual focus is that I don't have to focus every single time, because it should already be in focus from the last shot. Nothing has changed in the scene in terms of distance, but my paranoia gets the better of me, and I can't help it but focus between shots. Now that's just me being extra careful and kind of wasting time focusing multiple times. Now, like I was saying earlier, whether it's angles or this kind of straight down shot with converging lines with the wide angle lens, what I'm trying to do is create dynamic leading lines. I want the viewer's eye to be sucked into the photo, which often means not shooting so that everything is perfectly straight, because that makes things look a little bit more static. I like dynamic compositions. So yeah, as I mentioned already, I use a pretty small and light tripod because I don't want to carry something big and heavy. This is people are going to ask me in the comments, I'm sure, this is a Sirui. Sirui? It's a Chinese or Hong Kong brand, I think. Carbon fiber, not too expensive. I'll put a link in the in the description. But yeah, it's not the most sturdy and perfect tripod ever, but for its size and weight, it's really, really good. It weighs just over a kilo. It can hold a camera up to like 20 kilos or something, so way more than I need. The legs are, when it's fully open, it's actually quite sturdy. And the ball head works very well. It's not the best one ever. I'm sure you can get like a Ginza or Really Right Stuff that's better, but they tend to be heavier and then also more expensive. This was much more affordable. Alright, so here we are on the peak of one of the coolest roofs in the city, at least for me. And I'm going to do one last shot before we get out of here. Now, it's a shot I've taken a few times before. I really love this view. I haven't been here in quite a while though, and things have changed a bit. So my settings are 100 ISO, just to recap, and f11 to get a lot of depth of field, and the resulting, to get the exposure right, I have it on 15 seconds, which actually might be a little bit underexposed. We'll see. I'm going to take the shot, look at the histogram, and review it, and then I'll know if it's good enough or not. Okay, so here we go. The 2-second timer on, and shoot. Yeah, very dynamic shot. A lot of leading lines. Now, for most of this evening, I've been shooting with noise reduction, the long exposure noise reduction off, because I think in this camera it doesn't make a huge difference. I used to have a D3, Nikon D3 a long time ago, and whether I had the long exposure noise reduction on or off, it really didn't make a difference in the picture. Then I got a D4, and I noticed that, yeah, after like, I don't know, 8 or 10 seconds, you did get some noise on long exposures. So I have the long exposure noise reduction on that camera. Now for this shot, I just tried it with it on, just to see if I can detect some difference, but I don't think it's a big difference. Okay, let's see here. Oh yeah, beautiful. Exposure's great. Beautiful. Yeah, I think 15 seconds is spot on. In fact, it's a little bit dark. I'm gonna, what should I do? I think I'm gonna open up my aperture. I don't wanna wait. No. Here we go. Let's turn the long exposure noise reduction back off, because I think it doesn't make much of a difference. And then we'll try it on 30 seconds. Okay. Oops. Okay, 30-second shot. Oh yeah, beautiful. Beautiful. And I don't see any noise at all, so I think the long exposure noise reduction on this camera is not really necessary. Now, of course, if you're using long exposure noise reduction, it adds another, like whatever your shutter speed was, it's going to add the same amount. So if you had a 10-second shutter, long exposure NR takes another 10 seconds. If you have 30-second shutter, it again is 30 seconds. So it kind of doubles your exposure time. And I find that a little bit annoying. The reason it does that is because it takes the second shot, the second half. If you do 10 seconds, it does another 10 seconds. For the second 10 seconds, it keeps the shutter closed and just takes a black image, finds all the place where the noise is, and then subtracts that noise from the original image. At least I'm pretty sure that's how it works. That's my understanding. And that's why it always takes double the time. So a little bit tedious, especially like today where I want to get a lot of different shots and I don't want to wait each time. So I'm going to keep it off, keep the setting off. Okay, let's try a different composition. I'm actually zoom in a tiny bit. It doesn't have to be, fully wide. I already mentioned that earlier. It's just very tempting when you have a 14 to 24. It's so cool. It gets so crazy wide. you're tempted to just shoot everything on 14, and honestly, sometimes that's not really ideal. Okay, so we'll let that cook for 30 seconds. And I'm realizing that maybe for this scene, I'm not exactly sure if it's going to be 15 or 30 seconds. So I'm just going to do both. Now I could use bracketing, the bracketing function, to have the camera automatically do both, or I could do it manually like I am, just switching between the two times. I think using the bracketing is easier because if you have the self-timer on, the camera will automatically take the next photo. So it'll take one photo and then the next photo, rather than manually have to push the button each time, which means you might shake the camera a bit and, you know. But I think it'll be okay, so I'm going to put it on a 15th, or a 15 seconds here. Just take another one. Feel like it's sturdy enough that I didn't really change anything between shots there. Yeah, really a splendid view behind us here. You know, very cyberpunk, right? Gritty, retro Tokyo, mixed with some new stuff. The new skyscrapers in the background, the old city in the foreground. Gorgeous. Then I'm going to do one last one from farther over here. And again, I'm ever so slightly angling my shot. I'm not keeping it straight, the horizon straight. And the reason for that is, for me, because I want to have the sensation of movement in the image. I want to feel almost like the camera is flying over the scene, right? I don't want it to be static. So I'm not trying to make my horizon straight. I find that just visually less interesting than a slightly angled horizon. Now that might end up looking a little bit messy for some people, where it looks almost like a mistake, but I find it visually appealing. So, you know, it's a matter of taste for sure. Okay, make sure that looks good. Ooh, yeah, that's nice. Beautiful. And then, you know, I could always try to combine these into an HDR, the brighter and the darker one. Honestly, I don't think it'll be necessary. I think later on the computer screen I'll know which one I prefer, and I'll just edit from that one. I think there's more than enough dynamic range in the images from this camera right now to just bring up the shadows, especially since I'm on a lowest ISO, which means there won't be a lot of additional noise in those shadows. All right, guys. Well, I think this is the first time that Axel is on camera.
Yeah.
And I think this is the appropriate place to actually have a chat with Axel, because you found this place.
I found this place,
Yeah.
I found this place, when was it? 4 years ago now?
Something like that, 4 or 5. It's been a while.
Jeez, it sounds like...
Last century.
Last century now, yeah.
So that was the primordial ooze days of iExplorer.
Yes. It's this place for me, you know, is very emotional actually.
Is it?
Yeah, it is because, you know, after all the things that happened because of the coronavirus, you know, and the way, you know, things have changed so drastically over such a short period of time. And when I look back at those days, I'm like, wow, these were the days.
I agree. They were the days. Yeah.
Nothing was, like you said, primordial ooze, you know, so nothing was done. Everything was, you know, it was like a wide avenue.
Yeah.
Where we could do anything.
Yeah. Blue ocean.
Blue ocean.
Right? That's right. Yeah, I remember when you called me one day, or I don't know if it was a text message, and you were like, "Man, I got to show you something in Ginza. It's really cool."
Yeah.
And then you brought me to this building, and I was
Yeah.
like, "Wow, this is an awesome location for photos."
I don't even remember what went through my head. You know, I was just intrigued by. We're not going to say it, but these buildings, right?
Yeah.
It's not just one building. It's
a bunch of them. Yeah.
It's a bunch of them. So I don't know what went through my head, but I was curious because they look so, I don't know, out of place. So, I don't know, you know, it was open.
Yeah.
There was nothing in. So I just went up.
I
just went all the way up.
Now, the way you come up here, although it's changed a little bit, but the doors open on the elevator and you're in a pitch black hallway.
Yeah, it's just that for some reason, elevators still function.
Yeah.
But the buildings don't. I mean,
right. Well, this one doesn't.
This one doesn't.
None of the bars or restaurants are open in it anymore.
Some of them still have like a couple of restaurants and bars in operation at the very basement. But the rest of the building is totally empty. So you go up, the doors of the elevator open, and then it's pitch darkness.
Pitch darkness.
You don't even know where you...
And
so I took my phone,
Uh-huh.
and I, you know, so I was just making my way, And then I saw that there was a door that was half, open, like ajar like this. Just went. And here I was.
On the roof.
On the roof, So I was like, wow. And it's not just any kind of roof. Like the view around here.
Magnificent. Yeah.
It's
Best
just
views ever.
best views.
Yeah. Anyway, that's enough reminiscing.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching, guys.
Thanks for watching.
Please, of course, leave a comment and all that. And I'll let you say it this time, Axel.
As always, challenge your eye.
Love it. Okay. Didn't do Patreon and stuff, but I actually think that's okay. I'm okay with that.